On November 11, 2014, at approximately 2011 hours, I, Officer C.S. Thornton, / Officer B. Smith, Field Training, was patrolling in my marked police vehicle when I witnessed a hit and run in front of 343 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard Southwest. I was driving behind a 2014 GMC Yukon belonging to Taylor Gay going southbound when a 2006 Lexus SC430 belonging to Michael Burton, but driven by Richey driving northbound, ran into the front left grille of Mr. Gay's vehicle. Mr. Richey backed up and proceeded to avoid my marked patrol vehicle and traveled northbound away from the scene. He began to drive away from the accident, which insisted that he cut around the marked occupied police vehicle with all emergency equipment activated. He drove till the intersection of Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard Southwest and Ferris Street Southwest and stopped his vehicle. I got out of my vehicle and approached Mr. Richey. He tried to step out of the vehicle but was unsuccessful due to immobility from being intoxicated. I next physically detained Mr. Richey in order to investigate this situation further. I asked to conduct a DUI test on Mr. Richey because while stepping out of the vehicle I smelled an alcoholic beverage on his breath, and he had glassy eyes and the inability of his mobile skills. Mr. Richey refused the DUI test. However, when I asked him if he had been drinking, he confessed he had been drinking. Afterwards, he argued he sustained a head concussion and suddenly fainted full unconscious. Mr. Richey fell to the ground and hit his head on the concrete and was not alert but breathing. I called Grady to the scene to assess his situation because he was not responding to verbal commands. Before Grady arrived, Mr. Richey became alert and was asking what happened and if the other driver, Mr. Gay, was okay from the accident. Next, as EMTs continued to provide first aid backboard neck brace, he assumed that someone hit his vehicle and drove off. He was not assuming fault for the accident that was witnessed. He wanted to know if we knew what vehicle hit him. Grady assessed him, and he was placed in the patrol car, and his handcuffs were double-locked and checked for tightness. During my investigation, I was trying to obtain information about Mr. Richey to begin the report. I asked Mr. Richey for his date of birthday, and he responded, lawyer. I was unable to obtain any information from Mr. Richey at that time period, although he advised multiple times that he works for Clayton County Sheriff's Department and later finding out he is the chief lobbyist for the noted department. I was able to look up Mr. Richey on Horizon database and found out that this was not the first time that he charged/convicted for driving under the influence. While attending to Mr. Richey at the intersection of Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard Southwest and Ferris Street Southwest, I advised another officer to locate Mr. Gay and check for injuries and damage. Officer Moore was able to locate Mr. Gay and obtain his status. I was able to meet up with Mr. Gay and he stated that he was okay. Mr. Gay's vehicle had slight damage but was still operable for him to drive. The vehicle Mr. Richey was driving in was not his, but a friend named Michael Burlon. The vehicle was impounded and towed to S&W Towing. Mr. Richey admitted several times that he was under the influence of alcohol, and I found a pint of Bud Ice sealed in the wingspan of Mr. Richey's position as driver. Upon investigation, Mr. Richey's license is suspended for child support and failure to appear. However, when searching Mr. Richey, I was unable to locate his identification. There were no injuries from Mr. Gay. Mr. Richey was taken to Grady to be evaluated and then to city jail. Mr. Richey had $53.74 U.S. currency of money, Visa card, and 2 cell phones on his person. The items were properly labeled and put in property. Supervisor Unit Number 1195, Sergeant Poots, was on scene and notified of the above incident in discovery period. End of report.